Hi, this is Father Jamie. I hope y'all are having a lovely Sunday. Just wanted to reflect on the Sunday readings in light of some current events and just some personal reflection too. We hear in our readings the issue of tradition or not. And in our first reading from the Old Testament, we hear about how the law separated the Jewish people from everyone around them. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. We know that they weren't allowed to eat certain things, and really looking at it from a health aspect, they were better off for that because certain meats in that time had a lot of worms and things like that. So it was healthier for them not to eat pork and things of that sort. So, God had this wisdom of making them a strong, healthy people. As time goes on, however, in Jesus' time, we hear that these traditions and customs become an issue because the people are so caught up in the rules they forget why they have them. And it becomes more of an issue of following the law is more important than what they were intended for. So in light of all that, we have from Pope Francis this motu proprio that came out about the traditional Latin Mass and restricting it to a certain extent. People argue about what his motivations are for that. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm a lover of the traditional Latin Mass myself. But here's what I encourage us to do. Keep going to Mass, whether it's the extraordinary form or not. Go to what's available to you. It's still Jesus. He still happens. And yes, I know that there are some crazy things that some priests unfortunately do in ordinary form that should not be happening. The reason that the extraordinary form Mass is the way it is because when the Protestant Reformation happened and we have the reforms of the Council of Trent, those reforms were made in answer to the Protestant Reformation because of the craziness and discord that was beginning to unfold. And then we come to our current situation where we're post-Reformation, and so we loosen things up a little bit, liturgically speaking and otherwise, but some people took that a totally wrong way. So now we're in this mess. You have people who want the extraordinary form of the Mass returned, and now it's been restricted again. My understanding when I was in seminary, the rector of the seminary at St. Meinrad, Father Dennis Robinson, had my Eucharist class and told us that Pope Benedict allowed the extraordinary form to be present to keep the ordinary form in check, because as I said, there were some who were abusing it. And I venture to say there are some who still are. So what do we do with that? First of all, we don't need to be people who follow certain priests around who we think celebrate the liturgy better than others. That's a problem. That's cult behavior. And are we really going for the Eucharist or are we going for the priest? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And as I said earlier, regardless of whether it's the extraordinary form or not, Jesus still happens. And that needs to be our focus. And maybe instead of throwing a fit about not having the traditional Latin Mass, maybe instead call to action and accountability so that our ordinary form Masses can be more reverent. That's what I challenge us to do. And I think that's part of why the extraordinary form was allowed to the extent it was by Pope Benedict. But I think some people got caught up in holding to the letter of it has to be this way instead of how can this help the ordinary form. So we'll see what happens. But, myself, I am kind of labeled as traditional, but I don't do traditional things for the sake of the tradition. It's because that is how I pray as a blind person. I chant the collects of the Mass and some of the Mass parts because I can't pick up a hymnal and participate that way. I would need 3 hands, and so I've never sung hymns before I was ordained because I couldn't hold a Braille hymnal. I'd like for y'all to try it. It can't be done. To stand and hold a book and read with your hands, no. So, as a priest, I take full and active participation very seriously. So since I'm able to sing the Mass parts and chant the collects, that's what I do. Because I can't do hymns and things of that nature. That's outside of how I can participate. So I make up for what I am not able to do. And as a blind person, I need structure and things of that sort. So that's why I do those things. It has nothing to do with, I think this is how things should be. So, we need to meet each other where we are and help each other. And most of all, have respect. Go to Jesus. Make do with what we have. And it will be okay. We need to unite instead of be polarized. And, the Eucharist is supposed to be uniting. So may we give our all. Love as best we can. It will be okay. God bless you all.